Alright, so we're going to be making a Christmas card here. So we want to be in inches, and we're going to do 6 by 4 or 5 by 7, I don't really care. And we're going to go 300 for resolution, for these are for printing. Okay, so we got our card. And the first thing I do is I just set a background. Now I like to do the background in kind of two ways. I get set and I do a gradient kind of from the middle. And I want this to be extra hard. I just want to kind of touch the sides with some color here, and this is fine for me. I actually even would want it to be a little darker, so I'm gonna move this down. Try to move the color slider down here a little. See if I can move the red down more. Which is the goal here. There we go. Move the red down just a little bit more. Okay, so let's try it one more time. Whoa. There we go, and that gives me the effect I kind of want. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, I just kind of want the fringes right here to be grading out. And then what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the pen tool. The pen tool, if you hold it, you can kind of make these curves. I'm trying to do like kind of rolling hills here. So it's something you gotta kind of practice with. And then we're just going to get all the way around the object and back to the start. Now, I'm not really happy with that, so I'm going to get rid of it. And I'm just going to go, again, I'm going to start again. Gonna do larger spaces between my hills. And see if I can get something I'm more pleased with. I'm gonna live with this because I really don't feel like doing this again. Just gonna come in here and make some quick adjustments. And this looks okay to me. And what I want to do is I want to select this area. So I have to go to paths. I'm going to select it. So now I've got like a work path. Is it in the perfect location for me? Not really, but what I can do with that work path now is I can create a new layer for this work path, or I'm going to after this work path. But in this layer, just this work path is selected. So I can actually put this gradient back in as a linear gradient, and I can kind of get that kind of effect. I got too many things going on here, so I'm going to remove some of those. I'm actually going to soften this and just try this again. Too soft, soft, and that's good. And it gives me kind of an effect that I'm looking for. If I think it's too high too, I can kind of move it down and get an extra layer of effect here. But it's whatever you think works best. So I got that hill there. I hit Control D to deselect. And that's the first step, just getting a background, and this will work. I wanted a little more depth, but I'm going to live with it. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a snowflake. Okay. So to create a snowflake, we're going to use the line tool. And with this line tool, we are going to do about 10 points, seems fine. And I'm going to just start by drawing a straight line. And you want this to be as close to 90 as possible. So I draw a line 90 degrees. And then I'm just going to make some more depending on what kind of shapes I want. So like, do some branches here. My weight's 1 pixel. It's kind of rough. Might want to change to like maybe 10 pixels. We could go back in and change them all, increase their pixels. Because I'm not really satisfied with this, so I'm actually going to start again. Look at a 10 pixel one. And that's a little thick for me. So I'm going to go right in the middle. I'm going to do a 5 pixel one. And now that 5 pixel one, I'm going to get rid of these extra ones. The 5 pixel one was far and away my favorite. And I'm just going to, just something simple here. Just a couple lines here. And maybe I want a line going this way. And then I'm actually going to put an ellipse at the top. Alright, and just with that, I just want to change the colors on this guy so that the fill is empty. I just want to actually leave the stroke. I'm going to change that stroke to 5 too. And you wouldn't have to do this, but okay, so what I'm going to do now is maybe just try to center this a little. And I'm going to take these 3 shapes. I'm going to merge them together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of them. And then I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and I am going to flip them horizontally. And when I flip them horizontally, I'm going to stick them on there nice and even. Now that worked. That wasn't actually what I was intending to do. I just actually wanted to move these. And I'm just going to zoom in a little to get a better part of it. Try to make it so it's almost exactly lined up. So we got the same kind of thing on both sides. Decide if this layer is where I want it, if I want to, what I want to do with this layer. Where do I want it to, because it's trying to snap to both sides of the line. So if this bothers you, you can give it a tap with the key, but we're going to merge all of these together. Okay, so now there's some specific commands we're going to use for this right now. So those commands are going to be Control plus Alt plus T. So these are the controls we're going to be using for the next. So Control Alt T lets me select it, and I actually want to turn this on, make sure this on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move that guy down here, and then I am going to rotate this, and I'm going to pick an angle, and that depends how many times you want to do it. So I'm going to go 45. I know 45 works, so I'm going to pick the angle of 45, and I'm going to hit enter. Okay. So now I can zoom out. So I rotated 45. And what I can do now is I'm going to do Control plus Alt plus Shift plus T. So I'm going to hit all of these at the same time in our picture. So Control Alt Shift T, and it does an array, which will let me get a nice snowflake. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm just going to merge these 2 layers together, merge these shapes. I'm going to turn this off. And after I get that, I am actually going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go Define Brush Preset, and I'm going to say Snowflake. So this is my Snowflake brush preset. I can actually turn that off. I'll bring that back later. But now what we can do is if we go to Brush, and we look at our brushes, I got a snowflake here. I'm gonna go in and I got some stuff I want to do here. Like obviously that's gonna yell at me because I got to go back here. But I got my brush in there. I can change its size. I do like creating a pretty big spacing. And there are some things I like to do. I like to do jitter and angle jitter especially. Roundness jitter is not the one. I like angle jitter. It keeps them spinning in different directions, so you see they're not all pointing the same way is an idea here. Size jitter is sometimes good. You can do that yourself. Do roundness jitter. So those are all things I like. And then scattering. I don't like to get too crazy with the count, but scattering is pretty good. And then what you can do, if we're all zoomed out and looking at our image, we can, kind of go across here and we'll get some nice different size snowflakes. If you got certain spots you maybe want to put a bigger one, get a couple larger ones in there. Okay, so I got my snowflakes, and that's very good. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. No. I want to make a new layer. And I can actually turn the background off for this because I don't need the background. I'm going to use the shape tool. I'm going to make ornaments. And I don't need a stroke on the ornament, but I do need the fill. And I'm going to fill it with a gradient. And I'm going to stick with my red gradient that I had before. I'm going to do a red, and I'm going to do like a darker red. I like that, like the maroon, the darker red. Like I said, I'm going to turn off stroke. I'm not going to do linear. I'm going to do a radial right from the center. And I'm going to turn off stroke. Okay. Just giving me my ornament. Just good. And then remember that snowflake? Of course you do. So I've got my snowflake. I'm actually going to make some copies of this. And we're going to use the snowflake a couple times here. I'm gonna move them around now. So I got a couple snowflakes. They can be different sizes, angles, whatever. This one I'm gonna transform. First I'm gonna rotate it, and then I'm gonna reduce the size we've got here. I'm gonna get this one closer to the center. And I'm gonna grab those two are together. I'm gonna leave that one. Gonna transform, make this one much smaller. I'm gonna change the angle on it too. And I'm gonna put it right there. Okay, and here's what we're gonna do. You can change the color of these to be white or whatever. I think it's gonna look fine with black, especially since all my other snowflakes are white. So I'm going to go to filter. I'm going to go to distort, and I'm going to go to the one called Spherize. And yeah, we're going to convert them all to smart objects. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom out here. I'm going to come over here. Only that one's a smart object. So I actually have to convert all of these to smart objects if I haven't already. I'm going to convert all of these to smart objects. And we're going to control click on the object here. See how it's selected? So now we're going to go to these three and we're going to merge them. We're going to filter, distort, spherize. Okay, and now you can see, based on how much we want to spherize them, kind of what we're going to get a look like. And I'm going to go, 50%. So I got my 50%, we're spherized. I'm going to create a clipping mask there. I get rid of the rest of it. So I got my snowflakes popping up. I'm gonna hit Control D. I'm gonna merge these. So that's the globe, but now I'm going to do some more stuff. So I'm going to go here. I'm gonna get a rounded rectangle, like so. I'm gonna turn the stroke off. I'm gonna turn the gradient on, and I like that. I like the linear here, linear thing we got with this. And I'm okay with it like that. So I like that. I'm gonna go now to the ellipse one. Just gonna make a circle that looks like it's gonna fit on top. I am gonna stroke this with the gradient. I'm gonna turn the fill off. Oops. That's what happens when you do things in the same layer. So we're gonna get rid of this top one and make a new layer to do the next one. So I'm gonna do this in a new layer here. Turn the fill off, turn the stroke on, hit enter. I'm just gonna try to center these up a little bit. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Yeah, it works. Get this centered on here. Okay, if this is too big, this layer, I can kind of shrink it up. It looks a wee bit tall for me. Okay, drop that on there. Okay, Control 0. And I'm just going to turn these guys all into one layer. Okay, turn this back on. So now I got an orb. You need 2 orbs. So I'm going to make a copy of this. I'll make another orb here. Maybe make it a little smaller. So I got me 2 orbs. I'm going to add a picture in here eventually. I'm going to add some trees down here next. So that is my next step. I'm going to go to a new layer. And actually, no, I'll leave these guys on. And this is just to add a little flair to it. I'm going to start with a rectangle. Gonna get rid of the stroke here. I'm gonna hit enter. I'm gonna rotate that to 45 degrees. Hit enter. We're gonna make sure we rasterize this layer, which will allow us to cut it. So I'm gonna cut it right here. Delete that. So I hit the delete key to delete it. And I'm gonna deselect. So now I'm gonna just work on making a tree. So I copy that layer, drop it down. I'm gonna transform this to be 140% wider. Yep. I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna drag it down. I'm gonna transform it, Control T. Okay. So this is my tree in the making. I'm gonna merge these together. I'm gonna go over to Edit, and I'm just gonna do some warping. So I'm gonna grab it at the top. And drop it on the bottom. Okay, so I got a basic tree, and like this by itself is good enough, and I can make this larger or smaller as need requires. So I'm pretty happy with this tree, but I can make it better. One of the things I can do to make it better is add some color to it and some more layers. So I am going to get in here with some blue, bluest to blues. We're going to actually go lighter with blue. Okay, and then what I can do is I can actually, if I get the middle and cut it in half, try again. I can't get the middle. Okay, I can cut it in half. make a copy. It'll just copy that half. And then I can go transform. And I'm going to just transform it. And you can see it's kind of difficult to see it here. So I'm actually going to paint it a lighter shade of blue. And if that's not a significant enough change, we can make it a little more. So now I'm getting a bit of the change I'm looking for, and then I'm gonna once again draw the rectangle and make a new layer. This time I'm going to paint it first because that'll make my life easier. Now I'm even closer to the white I'm looking for, so there. And now with the Control T, so now between the three of them, I got a pretty nice thing going on. I'm gonna merge these three layers together. I'm going to make that, and I'm just going to edit and transform this with a flip horizontally. I'm gonna drop that in there. And you see I got a little red here, and that's not really a huge issue. If I hit deselect, I've got the blue I want. I'm gonna just merge these layers. I'm gonna need a regular brush. No snowflake. Just a general brush. Open. General brush. Make it much smaller. And I'll just go in. Get this in. Right now I can tell this is a pretty soft brush. There you go. And once you get that, and it's all set, you can pretty much take care of it where you want. Drop a couple trees. I'm gonna drop like a tree right here, maybe. And I'll drop another layer down. Ooh, don't want to be on the brush anymore. I drop another tree there, Control T, you know, make it a little smaller. And I can drop a couple trees. In spots, and then, you know, if I merge these three together, I can kind of do this. I could also turn these trees into a brush if I wanted. So, I got some trees. And you could also do it with red. I did it with blue. I just value it. I got my snow globes, which I can obviously move around. And the last thing you really got to do is just create a box to drop your picture in and add some text. So I'm gonna create a rectangle here. I'm gonna do a stroke as I'm not really digging that stroke, so I'm gonna look for a better color. Maybe something a little lighter. Okay, so that's fine. You can drop an image in here. So I'm gonna go grab a picture of Santa quick. I'll just grab a picture quick. My other screen. So here we go. I'm gonna drop my Santa picture in here, and I'll use a clipping mask. Create clipping mask, so I get Santa in there. I'm gonna merge these two layers. I'm gonna put them up top to figure out where I want Santa to go. If we want this to be a bigger thing. Figure if these spears go somewhere better for framing. And then the big final thing you gotta do, the last thing should be up top. So you gotta make text up here. And we just kind of gotta go select a text. There's one that's particularly good for Christmas stuff that I've always liked. I can't recall it off the top of my head. You certainly have options. I like this one. I'm gonna increase the size a bit. 48. It's looking big. Let's try 36. And whatever your message is here, if you write Merry Christmas or whatever, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year. Whatever you decide is right for you, you just gotta figure out how to make it fit in. So you got that. That's pretty good text, I think. And then we just gotta kind of work on our framing. This coming over the top's fine with me. I would like it centered a bit better. Maybe that works for you better. Happy holidays is always good. So whatever you want to get in here is fine. You can if you're cute, you could maybe hang one of these off of here. Whatever you want to do to try to fill your frame a little bit better. But you got a lot of skills in this video. And as we said, if you feel like you need a little more, a little extra, it's not busy enough, you can go add stuff. You could, of course, you can make reindeer or something in here. Whatever you're looking for. I'm going to add some more with the brush here. I'm just going to go back to my special effects brushes and grab my snowflake. Maybe plop one big one back there and grab some big ones. Not right there. It doesn't look like a good spot. Okay, so whatever you want to do. My scatter's not really good right here, but drop a couple in voids if you so choose. So these are the basic skills you have to require for one of the snowflakes. So this is video 1.